Hi, welcome to the Wellness Tea Podcast. My name is Amber Majestic, and I'm the owner and founder of Majestic Health. And this is the Wellness Tea Podcast, where we discuss all things health and wellness for Black women and women of color. And this is a very special episode. Usually I have a guest on the show with me, and I ask them wellness questions, what wellness means to them, et cetera, et cetera. But I'm going to answer those questions for us on this episode and then kind of share my journey. So for me, health is like, I view health as our physical health, as in our body. Is your heart healthy? Are your lungs healthy? Are you moving your body? Are you your own personal ideal weight, et cetera, et cetera? Whereas for me, wellness is like a holistic thing, like full body health. How are you mentally? How are you emotionally? How are you spiritually? And ultimately physically, because I believe your mental, emotional, and spiritual states can affect you physically, which I've kind of shared on some of the other episodes. And I think it all goes together. And then how do I show up for myself in these wellness spaces? Which I've kind of shared on some other episodes. I am an introvert, and for me to feel successful during my day, I need some time to myself in the mornings, whether that's watching a TV show, whether that's journaling, reading a book, whether that's an audio book or a physical book. I do prefer physical books in the morning, though. I like to sit down somewhere. I usually make myself a cup of tea, usually caffeinated tea, which I'm still trying to get away from a little bit. I'm trying to drink a little less caffeine. My other one is I do love listening to podcasts, but I usually stick to podcasts. I don't listen to podcasts as much. They used to be what I listened to on my commute to work. But since working from home, I don't really have a commute to work. I also juice for myself, for my own personal health reasons. I do juice most mornings, but just taking time for myself is how I show up for myself in like a health and wellness space. As I discussed in my episode with the Black Enneagram, I am an Enneagram 2. We are very much empathetic. We tend to put others' needs before ourselves. So I try to, at least in the morning, put myself first and take that time to kind of unwind. I also started working out more. And that's been self-care for me, just being able to move my body again. Like I mentioned, I work from home. I sit behind a desk. I live a very sedentary lifestyle at home on a day-to-day basis. So I try to work out as much as I can to move my body. I do take like supplements and things like that, but really just finding time every day for myself is how I show up for myself in a health and wellness space. And the other question I ask my guests is, why is like these types of conversations are health and wellness important for our communities? And that's really why I started Majestic Health Coaching. As a Black woman, I have experienced a lot of, in the healthcare space as a patient, I've experienced a lot of kind of just flying under the radar, misdiagnosis, and things like that. And then you hear, the Black maternal death rate and, the inherent biases in a lot of even determining diseases in Black women. We're often medically gaslit. Between my own personal stories, I've had people share stories with me of like their experiences of, just like being like gaslit by doctors. One of my own personal health journeys was I found 4 or 5 years ago, longer than that, maybe 8 years ago, I started feeling pain in my breast, and I went to the doctor and got an ultrasound on my breast, and they told me I had lumpy breast disease, which is really common. If you don't know what lumpy breast disease is, it's literally just like cyst, like fluid-filled sacs in your breast that cause pain. It's extremely common in women. And also I just had lumpy breast disease. It's normal. There's some dietary things. Most women find that reducing their caffeine intake helps with some of the pain, and et cetera, et cetera. Fast forward maybe 3 or 4 years later, I was with a different health insurance. I went and I was getting tests done for something else. I was getting a CT scan for something else. And in that scan, they noticed the lumps in my breast. And so when my doctor reviewed those scans, he was like, hey, we're going to get you over to get an ultrasound done. And the insurance that I had at the time, which I do now still, the insurance I changed to, they're very big on breast health, and they have a whole breast center. And all they do is ultrasounds, mammograms, biopsies, etc. on breast. That's the only thing they focus on there. And so I went to the doctor for the ultrasound, honestly expecting them to still say just lumpy breast disease. It's just kind of large. And the ultrasound tech came in. She did the ultrasound on both my breasts, because I did have lumps on both my breasts, but the one on the right side is bigger than the one on my left, or was bigger than the one on my left. And so she did the ultrasound. She went and she did the ultrasound and then had the radiologist review the ultrasound. And she came back in and she was like, the doctor is really concerned about the shape and size of the lump in your right breast. And she said, we're going to do an ultrasound. We're going to do a mammogram before and after. We're going to do a biopsy and then do a mammogram before and after. Just to make sure the placement and everything. Because when they do the biopsy and they take the test, they put a little sticker thing on it, and it's like a pink ribbon, just for placement, make sure everything's still fine. And so I went in there just for an ultrasound and ended up getting a mammogram and a biopsy. And the doctor was like, give me a call after 10 a.m. tomorrow and I'll let you know your results. And they assured me they didn't think it was like cancerous. Like I didn't have breast cancer, but they were just concerned about the size and shape. And so the next day I gave the doctor a call, and he was like, it's a fibroadenoma, which is a benign tumor. And based on the size, he really wanted me to have surgery on it. And I was like, I haven't really felt any pain. Like I've been feeling better about it. I don't really want to have surgery right now. And he was like, okay. And he was like, we'll follow up with you in probably 6 months. And I said, okay. And then, this was right before the pandemic hit. So when I went to get this done, we weren't wearing masks or anything. And then the pandemic kind of hit, and it was, by this time I had already been sent home to work from home for work. And I get a call about 3 months later. So in May, about early May, mid to late May, I get a call from the radiologist, and he was like, just trying to see how you feel. Have you started feeling any pain? Yada, yada. And I'm like, no, I haven't. And he was like, I'm still really concerned about the size of it. And so it was an 8 centimeter tumor that I had. And so that size was concerning, on top of having what's known as dense breast tissue. This breast tissue makes it a little harder for you when you do. It makes it having dense breast tissue makes it kind of harder sometimes to find tumors and things like that on ultrasounds and mammograms. And so he's like, because of your dense breast tissue, the size of the tumor, even though it's benign, it still kind of worried him. He's like, I really want you to talk to a surgeon. And so I agreed, and he referred me to a surgeon. Also, what kind of swayed my decision to even talk to a surgeon. And I look at the results from the test and stuff. It does show you based on certain factors your risk for breast cancer, and keeping the tumor, because of the size of the tumor and the dense breast tissue and things like that. It gave me like a 71% chance. It increased my chances of getting breast cancer in the future. And so I was like, okay, I'll speak with the doctor. I spoke with the doctor. Like I said, by this time it was COVID, and it was actually a phone conversation. But she looked at my scans and she was like, absolutely, yes, this needs to come out. And so I said, okay. And then the next month in June, I had it removed in the middle of the pandemic. If you don't know, when they do a biopsy, it's just a small part of the tumor. And so they can get a piece of the tumor and that not be cancerous. And so which means more than likely the whole thing isn't cancerous. But when anytime they remove any type of mass, something from you, once they remove it, they test the whole tumor. So she reassured me that the tumor was non-cancerous, that it wasn't malignant, it wasn't spreading from anywhere, et cetera, et cetera. And she told me, which can kind of explain why the other doctors probably thought it was just lumpy breast. So like I said, with lumpy breast disease, they're cysts, they're semi-solid. Cysts are fully solid, so they kind of move when you, because they're fluid filled, whereas usually tumors are solid, they're hard. And apparently mine was like a semi-solid, so it was kind of squishy, kind of hard. And so that's probably why the other doctors considered it to just be lumpy breast. And so, which was also nice, because it was nice that it was at least somewhat like fluid of a tumor. They didn't need to use this big of an incision to remove it. So I only have a really tiny scar, honestly. And then I had to recover for about 2 weeks. I wasn't allowed to work for 2 weeks, cook or clean. I couldn't do anything with a lot of like hand movements. I had to limit like being in a car. They're like, you can't be in a car more than 20, 30 minutes. Things like that. But it was a learning experience for me to like just kind of a shell shock, like, oh my gosh, what could have happened if this was cancerous? I did all the things they tell us to do, do a breast exam, you feel the pain, go see a doctor. I did all those things. And then I was told something else than what I had. Thank God it wasn't, but it was benign and not malignant. But yeah, so that was kind of one part of kind of pushed me into like my health and wellness journey, starting coaching. The other thing was my thyroid. Right around and kind of right before all these kind of simultaneously, I was feeling really exhausted, and just tired. I was losing weight. Every time someone saw me, you've lost weight, you've lost weight, you've lost weight. And I've always been a kind of a small person, so it's like I'm losing even more weight. And it was noticeable. I looked tired all the time. I had brain fog. I was fatigued. couldn't always have the best focus, like at work and, et cetera, et cetera. And so I got in to see my doctor, and I honestly don't know how long I've had thyroid issues, but I went to go see when my insurance kicked in for the job. I had started. I went to go get a physical, and she noticed the lump, like kind of like a lump in my throat, because your thyroid's right here. And she noticed it was kind of hard for me to swallow, and so she was like, I think it's something with your thyroid. We're going to run some tests to rule out any autoimmune diseases. So like lupus, et cetera, et cetera. Those things came back normal. And so the next step was an ultrasound of my thyroid, and my thyroid showed multiple nodules on both sides of it. And then I did, because of the sizes of them, again, concerning. And so they did biopsies on them. They're benign. If you don't know, thyroid cancer is extremely rare to find. It's more common in men than women, but thyroid cancer is extremely rare. And then, so they did that, and then they ran labs on my thyroid. But even though my thyroid levels were normal on all the lab tests, it was, the tumors were, the nodules were benign on my thyroid, and my thyroid levels were normal. I was still feeling symptoms of like my thyroid being out of balance. Depending on where you are on the thyroid spectrum, you can feel fatigue, brain fog, weight loss, weight gain. Like I think I said fatigue, extremely, a big thing for me was extremely tired, the weight loss, loss of appetite. I was never really hungry. Your mood. So your thyroid regulates your hormones and your metabolism. And so when your thyroid's out of whack, your whole body really feels out of whack. It affects your entire body. And so I was in this hard place because my thyroid levels were normal. So there was nothing the doctors could provide to me to help me feel better. And so I actually ended up going to see a naturopathic doctor, which changed all of that for me. With diet, we changed my diet. We did a essentially the naturopathic doctor kind of detoxed my system. So she started off small with, the biggest thing was when she saw me was that essentially like nutrient deficient. And so it was, small ways of increasing my intake. So it was smoothies with nutrient powder and like things like that, like a daily smoothie, nutrient powder, just like, that was the bigger thing in, like iron supplements. I'm sorry, not iron supplements, iodine supplements. Your thyroid needs iodine. So she needs like iodine supplements. And just wanted me to move more. So I would try to walk or jog in the mornings or something a couple of days a week just to try to like move. She needed me to sweat, to kind of detox. And then, I saw her then. That was the focus for a couple months. And then when I went back to see her, based on the test she ran, she was like, okay, now you're in a better space to kind of truly detox. She put me on this full body detox regimen, kind of a restrictive diet for the moment. And it was like it was like a 3-month, it was like a 90-day cleanse. I eliminated all dairy and dairy byproducts from my body. And they were these like droplet supplements, these like tincture supplement type things I would have to put into my water. And it's a scheduled regimen. The first part of, the first half of the detox, you do this, the second half, you do this. But it worked for me. It helped me feel 10 times better. I had more energy. I wasn't just going to work, coming home, going to sleep, and trying to wake up the next morning and do the whole thing over again. I was picking up weight. And I just, like I said, just had more energy. And then I actually did 2 rounds of getting thyroid biopsies. I had to get them once a year due to the size. Every year I have to get my thyroid checked. Based on that, I get a biopsy. Fast forward to last year. As you can kind of see in this video, I didn't put on any makeup or anything this morning. I kind of had the urge to do this and just got up and did it. You can see this eyebrow is extremely thin. Probably about April or May of last year, I noticed slowly like hair missing from my eyebrow. When I first noticed it, it was like a tiny patch of hair, and it kind of gotten worse. And I didn't think anything of it. I was like, oh, it'll kind of come back. And then it didn't. And I was talking to people about it, and they were like, you should get your thyroid checked. Hair loss can be a symptom of your thyroid being out of whack, which makes sense. So one thing I've learned is your body does not see your hair as essential to livelihood. It cares about your organs. Your body will take nutrients from another place to secure your vital organs are functioning better. So when you experience hair loss, things like that, there's probably something else going on in your body's pulling nutrients that will probably go to your hair, to other parts of your body. So I finally, when I spoke with the doctor, they had me do some lab tests. And so this time my thyroid was in I had hyperthyroidism, which is an overactive. Hyper means overactive. Hypo means underactive. Hyperthyroidism, my thyroid was working too much. And so from there, they sent me to a dermatologist as well as an endocrinologist, because your thyroid is part of your endocrine system. So I went to the dermatologist, and that was really just, I ended up getting a cream to use for my eyebrow. I didn't really want to, one of the ways, it's really hard to grow hair back on your eyebrow, for one, and two, it would require extensive injections into my eyebrow. The dermatologist told me it would be really painful and it would take a while. And so we settled on a cream to use. And then I also chose to do some diet changes to help with it, to kind of get my thyroid in balance. And then the endocrinologist put me on thyroid pills. I had to get a nuclear medicine stress test to make sure that my thyroid was actually functioning properly, which it is. My thyroid is properly working. It's just overactively working. And so my endocrinologist put me on medicine to slow down my thyroid. Like I said, that was back in August. And then he gave me the medicine, and they did some more lab work, and they were like, come see us in 3 months and we'll see from there. We'll see if we need to continue to have you on the thyroid medication or not. And then right before my appointment, they no longer take my insurance. And so now I am waiting to see, I found another endocrinologist. I'm just waiting for them to fit me, and I get to see them next month. So I actually stopped taking the thyroid medication that they gave me because, like I said, it's for an overactive thyroid, and I can keep taking it, and it could throw me the other way to have an underactive thyroid. So I didn't want to keep taking the medication that they provided me if it was going to take me the other way. And then, like I said, just kind of focused on my diet. I actually went kind of on a deep dive on the medical medium. He has a a book on thyroid health. And so I focused on, which is mostly what I juice. I do a, either the thyroid healing juice, the celery juice. And I usually, I can't really take celery juice completely by itself. I usually cut it with a little lemon, an apple, some ginger, which are also really good for your thyroid. And then the thyroid healing broth, which includes like Atlantic juice, a lot of things with iron, iodine in them, and kind of changing my diet around that. That seemed to help. My eyebrow has started to grow back. It's not in full effect quite yet. But yes, that is, and all that kind of just led me here. Like there is more to feeling healthy than just going to the doctor. Doctors don't have all the answers. I think for me personally, I found that it is a balance between going and seeing doctors, but also looking at what you're eating. What you're eating plays a huge effect on how you feel. I think that the way you eat, diet, etc., can be preventative medicine. I think preventative medicine is important. And like I said, from my own experiences, the changing in diet, taking supplements, things like that have helped me greatly, more so than medicine and tests have done at the doctors. But I think those tests are great. They're necessary. But I think we need to find a balance between the two, which is why I started Majestic Health, which focuses on the health and wellness of Black women and women of color. My goal is to help Black women and women of color to feel majestic, mind, body, spirit. And so I do 6-month coaching. I do 3 or 6-month coaching programs. Those are the main things that I provide. And in those programs, those 6 months, we start off by figuring out what are your own personal health goals. I don't think everyone has the same health goals. So it's tailored to what you need. And from there, we come up with what I call an individualized wellness plan. Think of it as an IEP, like some kids in schools are on an IEP, and that plan is individualized to that kid's needs in school. It's the same thing. It's tailored to your needs. We will build that together throughout either our 3 or 6-month program that we do together. And then you will then also have those tools. When you leave the program, you have a plan that we've discovered that works for you, that you can take with you when you leave as a guide to continue your wellness journey. And we'll deep dive in it as some people choose to continue. Sometimes they re-up for another 6 months or another 3 months, which is great. But my goal is when you come out of the, what I call the Majestic You Health Coaching Program, that you have the tools you need to thrive in your wellness journey without me. But I want to provide you with those tools through that program. And that's the best feeling. I believe knowledge is power. Where you leave the program with the knowledge you need to continue to be healthy and how you see that to be healthy. The other aspect of that for me of why I chose health coaching and focusing on Black women of color is not just, like I said, our physical health, but we as Black women and women of color experience so many disadvantages in this world. We are underserved in so many areas. We deal with we have stigmas attached to us, angry Black women. We have to always think about how we're presenting ourselves at work, day to day. People see us, when they see us, they already have preconceived notions of us based on stereotypes that they were brought up, that they're taught growing up, and things like that. And that affects our world greatly, the way we view the world. Also, it is why health and wellness is so important for our communities. We deal with racism every day. We deal with workplace stigmas, just life stigmas. And so I want it to be a safe place. I want Majestic Health to be a safe place for us, that is also by us, so that we can make health and wellness a better focus. It is very taboo in communities. If you listen to last season's podcast episodes, I talked to Black women of different backgrounds, Haitian, Nigerian, women of color, different backgrounds. And we all share the shared experience of being taught to put others before ourselves, put our families' needs before ourselves, et cetera, et cetera. And we want to kind of shift the narrative of our health and wellness is important as well. And like I said, it's such a taboo thing to talk about taking care of ourselves. We're kind of taught to do everything for everyone else first, and then if we have time for ourselves. And so I just want, like, if you go through one of our programs, that you learn to take that time for yourself. I said in the programs you get twice a month a time to sit down and talk with me as your health coach, to just talk about what you're going through. Also, the racism, the stigmas we deal with the world, they affect our physical health. That is why, because of stress, and stress affects your entire body. We deal with anxiety, that affects all aspects of your health, mind, body, spirit, and things like that. So there's certain things that we deal with in the world that affect our health and wellness, that are specific to the Black women and women of color communities. And that's what this focuses on. Whether it's this podcast, Wellness Tea Podcast, my personal Instagram, Coach Majestic, the Majestic Health Coaching Instagram. I want these to be safe spaces for us to talk about health and wellness. And a lot of times they're casual conversations just because we don't talk about them enough. And so I just want, like, a holistic wellness to be less taboo in our communities and more forefront. And I want us to just focus on our health and wellness as a community. Also, one of the other programs that I didn't mention, it is a one-time session. It's more of like an intensive one. So we would spend about 2 hours, hour and a half, 2 hours together, and and for me, it's kind of a starter course. Like, if you're not really ready to do a 3 or 6 month program, we sit down with each other for a couple hours and just kind of walk through your health and wellness needs. And based on that conversation, we'll do some activities to kind of sift through some of those things, and you will get your health and wellness plan at the end of that. So it's a holistic health intensive. And so it'd be one-on-one. We sit down, and have a conversation for a while and kind of boil down what exactly you need to feel healthy and feel well. And then you leave that session with your individualized wellness program, plan. And so that's kind of a starter course for us. Also, Last thing that I'm going to talk about today, I am going to start doing a wellness tea podcast live on Instagram. And I want it to be kind of a live version of this, but with your questions. So I'm going to put up a link probably by the time this comes out. I will put a link out where you can leave questions anonymously. You can include your name, whatever. And then on the live day, kind of like a Q&A, a wellness tea Q&A, your questions about health and wellness, maybe something that's concerning you, and I will answer that question live for you to try to give some tips. And I think I want to do them monthly. Once a month, go live on the Wellness Tea Podcast live. I may change that. I may make it more frequently, maybe twice a month. I think I'm going to start off with one time a month. Honestly, going on Instagram live scares me. It gives me a little anxiety, so I'm trying to battle that, which is why I went live on my Instagram the other day, just because, to try to overcome that fear. I keep telling myself I'm going to do it more often, and then I do it, and then I don't. But yeah, so I will be doing the Wellness Tea Podcast live. I believe I'm going to start the next one at the end of February. That is my plan, but I will get the link out for you to start providing some of your questions you may have. And those questions can be in any aspect of wellness. If you have any questions about about diet, nutrition changes, any questions about health coaching in general. They can be in any aspect of wellness. Any questions dealing with being a Black woman in careers, like if you have situations like that, just like navigating life. Like I said, wellness is more than just what you eat, your exercise, et cetera, et cetera. But any aspect of your wellness that you may have questions about, I would love for you to send me those questions, and then I will go live with them. I haven't set an exact date yet, but I do plan to do it at the end of February. So once again, I do want to thank you guys for joining me and listening to this episode of the Wellness Tea Podcast, the first episode of season 2 and of 2023. And I do hope to be doing more solo episodes, kind of like IG Live. Solo episodes are nerve-wracking for me. So I enjoy putting the spotlight on other people because I'm an Enneagram 2. I'm an Enneagram 2 and I'm an introvert. So this is a lot for me. So once again, thank you guys for sitting through this, listening to this episode. And thank you for joining us for this episode of the Wellness Tea Podcast. And we'll catch you guys next time.